their way of retirement planning sucks. And we're going to look at it and we're going to show you why the 4% rule, the 80% rule, the 60-40 split, all these are so inherently flawed due to the volatility and the risk and taxes involved with their way of planning. I'm Mark McKay.
And I'm Marcy McKay.
We're going to take a look at some smarter ways to protect your assets and provide you a tax-free retirement. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel and join us weekly as we look at new and exciting ways to protect your assets, get Uncle Sam out of your retirement plan, and retire tax-free. Okay, so what are we talking about? What's the traditional way of planning is to put as much money into these tax-deferred. Now they will jump on board and say, oh, you should do the Roth, but how much can you do in the Roth? And there are ways to do a lot more, but your broker is probably not recommending them.
Because he won't make as much money off it?
Well, I don't know. Because he's afraid to think outside the box. But probably. Because when you do the conversion, you are sending part of the taxes to Uncle Sam at that point, which means he can't charge you a fee on it. So let's just get into it. They've always said, and I've debated whether this is a great way to plan or not. I guess I haven't debated. I've argued that it's not. That you should expect to need about 80% of your income in retirement. And that may be about right, but why not just plan for 100%? Right. Does it seem like your expenses go down every year? And I realize that they're saying that chances are you'll have your taxes paid off. You're not going to have to get your hair cut as often because you don't go into your job, your wardrobe budget. Right. You know, they don't think things like, okay, well, you also have a lot of free time, so you might go out to eat more often. You might want to go see your grandkids. You might want to take your grandkids fishing. You might want to go
take
fishing.
Them on vacation, and you might want to
live your retirement.
Vacation. Yeah.
And that is one of the major flaws of the 4% guideline that the strip mall and the Dave Ramsey advisor guys are recommending for. It doesn't work. So let's take a look. They say 80% is what you should shoot for. Let's say you made $100,000 when you were working. What do you need with their way of thinking? What do you need in retirement to achieve that? So with the 4% rule that they have given us, which basically says if you pull out 4%, you probably won't run out of money in retirement. But with that, you would need $2.5 million in your tax deferred, your 401k, your traditional IRA, whatever it may be, in your retirement accounts, $2.5 million so that you can pull out $100,000 a year and still observe that 4% rule. So let's say 4%, that allows you to pull out $100,000 a year. Well, guess how much you have to pay on taxes? Pay taxes on?
The
whole $100,000. So let's say that taxes were where they are now.
Right.
That may be hopeful. Taxes are very low right now. So do your tax planning now. But let's say that they're at 24%. That means you get to take home $76,000 a year off your $2.5 million that you are paying someone to manage so that you can provide for your retirement. Guess what? If they're paying, let's say the average advisory account, you're paying 1%.
I was just about to ask, what would your fees be to them?
So, and that's low. That's minimum. If you've got $2.5 million, even if you're in no load mutual funds or ETFs, you're probably paying at least 1%. If you're at a big brokerage house and you're paying an advisor that you talk to on an annual basis, you're paying at least 1%. That's $1,000 a year that you are paying to get $76,000 a year in income.
That sucks.
And you know what? They're starting to say, the 4% may be a little aggressive. They're starting to hedge their bets a little and say, oh, let's maybe look at 3%. So, you can do the math. But that's, you know what the other thing about this $76,000, well, it's really the $100,000 a year in taxable income you just created. That's like having a job where the salary is $76,000 with no deductions. You just caused your Social Security to be taxed. 85% of your Social Security benefits are now taxed. So it's
you're getting double whammy.
lose with their way of thinking. You know what the other problem with this is? Let's say you started January 2022. That's when you entered retirement. You're like, okay, I've got $2.5 million in there. I can pull out 4%. Well, what do we say? That's $100,000 a year. So by this point, you might have pulled out $50,000. But what happened in the market in that time period? What happened to bonds? What happened to stocks? What happened to Bitcoin?
Up, down, up, down, up,
Just
down.
Mostly down. So that this $2.5 million by July is $2 million. Well, how often do you adjust your withdrawal strategy, your distribution strategy? Because $100,000 is no longer 4% of $2 million, it's 5%. So you're going to start eating principal, which is bad.
It is so bad.
So the sequence of returns
sucks.
of trying to retire with the markets high, the markets are still very expensive. Look at the Schiller PE on the S&P 500, and I realize that we've had about a 20% sell-off, but over the past 14 years, governments have created $30 trillion of funny money. They just printed it. That's how we got out of the recession. And so that's going to have to come out in the wash, and things are going to get painful for some time to come.
So what's a better way?
So what can you do? What are some smarter ways? One, how do you know, and the other thing they're saying is you should have a flexible distribution strategy in retirement. And they're not saying flexible because, you may have some trips you want to take, or, you've decided that you love traveling around in your RV and visiting state capitals and collecting spoons. I don't know. They're saying be flexible so that when their plan goes down, don't pull out as much. That's the flexibility they want you to have. So what I did is I looked and I compared. We are looking at doing some, this is on a 50-year-old. So rather than saying just keep maxing out this tax deferred bucket, let's put 100,000 on a 50-year-old. This is so professional.
I kind of like the old school.
So 100,000, we move it one time. He had it sitting in a CD earning 1.2% because he played golf with the banker. As soon as that bank sells to somebody else, he's going to get the 0.4% like everyone else. So we moved $100,000 one time, and we put it to work with that SAGE method. We got that leverage, that safe compounding, that safe leverage, that tier one arbitrage. And we are able to provide him in retirement $94,000 per year tax free.
Okay.
So we haven't caused any taxation on his Social Security.
Right.
We don't have to worry about, is this going to go up? Is this going to go down? Is this going to go up? Is this going to go down? We know ahead of time that money's there. There's a big pool of money that you can access tax-free, that you can access without having to worry whether the stock market is up or stock market is down. That's the kind of flexibility I want, is to be able to be flexible as my needs change, not as my broker's success. And you know what? We're also not paying that $25,000 a year for the privilege of pulling out $76,000 from my retirement account. So.
Well, and plus, I love this. This is so much more realistic that someone can come up with $100,000 rather than I have to have $2.46 million in order to get maybe $76,000.
Well, yeah. What if 2.5 was your goal and you were at 2.2 in January and now you're at 1.7? Do you work another 5 years
Right.
hoping that the stock
Right.
market bounces
So
back?
this is more realistic. I like that it's much more flexible. It seems much more stable. I like that it's tax-free. And again, it's based on what's best for the client and what benefits them instead of,
Yeah, and this, once we put it
your
to
broker
work,
gambling with your money.
you can beat the market without the stock market.
Right.
If your broker could get these kind of returns using stocks, he would be a billionaire. Don't listen to Dave Ramsey and these guys who are talking about the 12% stock market return.
Yeah.
Look up Dalbar and what real investors have made in mutual funds and stock mutual funds. The other thing about this, it self-completes. If I move this $100,000, I'm thinking, okay, this is for the purpose of generating retirement income for me and my wife and my dog and my kids. And then I get hit by a bus. I keep trying to think of a more creative way for me to meet my end. There's a big chunk of money. There's a $2.4 million.
Let's just have you pass in your sleep.
Oh, that's awful. I can't prevent that.
Okay.
I can look both ways for across the street.
Okay.
Nothing more terrifying to a man my age
I thought
than...
you meant legitimately you're going to die. I don't want to get hit by a bus, but yeah, okay. So...
Remember that when you're lingering and lingering. Wow, this one took a dark turn in a hurry. But you know what? Big chunk of money to auto-complete the program, tax-free.
Yeah.
So we are able to move $100,000 once on a 50-year-old. We are generating almost $1.5 million in tax-free income, and we have a $1 million legacy tax-free for his heirs, her heirs, whoever this is on. It actually looks better if we do it on a female. $100,000 moved once in your 50s can generate $2.5 million. So if you would like us to put together a plan like this for you, let's see it on paper and set a time, visit with me, run your scenario by me, and I will come up with an actual case design to show you how this will work for you, how you can do this rather than trying to just accumulate this giant bucket of money that 20, 30, 40% is going to have to go to the IRS, that 20% can be evaporated at any time with the stock market crash, that 40% can be evaporated with an extended bear market. So, if you'd like to learn more, there's a link below to our masterclass. It's 40 minutes.
Yeah, it's good. It's very educational.
It's very educational.
Protect your assets and retire tax-free.
Have choices. Don't have everything sitting there in a bucket that the government can control.
Well, and be proactive with your family's financial future.
But the old way of thinking is not working. That is why we have such a crisis as it comes to retirement savings in this country. So, protect yourself. Learn how to generate tax-free retirement income.
Thanks.
Have a great week.